Wow.
I love
So good with
your I'm feeling underdressed now.
head, headset.
Yes, your headdress is lovely. I'm feeling very underdressed now. I'm going to have to go out and find a scarf and generally, upgrade myself.
Don't worry. We already upgraded ourselves a lot because we didn't. It was the first time for both of you to do a joint Instagram live, and here we are. Here we are, indeed.
I know. Yeah, this is actually really. Anybody who knows me would now be very impressed.
And can you see me all right? Can you see me all right? Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Let's get over my. Yeah, it's all good. So we've got a few other people.
Yeah, joining.
And did you get any questions, specific questions through from?
No, zero questions. So I just ask questions to myself, and also you can ask me questions, and as people are coming into the live, just think about some questions, comments that you would like me or us to answer. Now is a good time. In terms of time frame, shall we say 30-40 minutes?
Yeah,
Max?
that sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah. So have you've been in the gallery today, have you?
Yeah, that's a good question, Mindy. No,
you're very diligent, because I know how cold it is in the gallery to be spending time there and things, and I'm just interested in because some of your blogs and things say about the space, and so I'm just interested in how that is for you, and being in the space and things, what sort of effect that's having on you and having on your creative thinking, I suppose, especially in lockdown when you can't, because in the first one, obviously the beginning of the residency, it was great, you were able to have people in and show stuff in there and things, and use it as a social space. Whereas now, obviously, you're using it as a communication tool through what you've got in the space, and also the answer phone and things. We must. I have the telephone number upstairs, so I might bring that out and just encourage people to give the answer phone a ring and leave you a message. But yeah, so can I kick off with that first question? Of the impact of the space on you?
It's a really, for me, I tend not to divide too much between human beings and things, human beings and non-human beings, and within the non-human beings you have space included. So I think I've become a really good friend, at least on my side. My feelings towards the space are really growing step by step, and I actually consider the space as a close ally to my practice. I remember back in the first residency in autumn, when we transformed the white wall with people, with black ink, black paint and everything. I was so I keep within me this trauma of having had to paint over the wall with white paint again, because it was something. It was the first thing that I really tailored for Arcadia Gallery, right? I didn't really, but I mean, we did it with Arcadia Gallery, so it was part of my relationship with Arcadia Gallery, right? And so I found it really difficult to sort of cut this relationship, because the painting with white paint coincided with the fact that I had to, move out of the space, where I kind of lived for a month. I wasn't sleeping there, but I went there on a regular basis, and I was spending most of my time awake in the space. So I really have I think that I have a really close relationship to the space, but I'm also conscious, and I'm also learning from my first experience. But I have to also detach myself a bit from the space as the end of the residencies come, because I remember how difficult it has been for me to leave because
Oh,
I was feeling
really?
so good.
Yeah.
And then for this residency, I really, as I was like socially distancing from this close friend that is Arcadia Gallery to me, I was thinking a lot about the space because I actually designed every single installations for Arcadia Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember exactly what was the question, but so for me,
Well, the
I'm
impact, I
developing.
suppose. I was asking, what's the impacts of the space on you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the space is very much, I consider the space as a Arcadia Gallery, very much as a close collaborator, and even more so for this residency, as things have been tailored for and with Arcadia Gallery. So yeah, and I hope the only thing that was that is still a bit difficult to navigate with. Are you still here, Mindy?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm here.
Okay, because your face is frozen on my side, don't worry. So
Sorry.
the only thing that I found a bit challenging this time is that first residency, I was able to co-create the space with
Mm-hmm.
other gallery visitors, and for this residency, it was only me. So I have lots of hope that I'm building towards, what's next in relation to my relationship with Arcadia Gallery. Lots of hope, but it's actually not a binary relationship between me and the gallery, but actually like multiple relationships growing in relation to the space and the work that I hope to be able to welcome, to nurture, and that it won't be only about me or about the gallery, but about like a multiplicity of us, including people passing by Coventry, but also like people living in Coventry, and them bringing their own artworks, or not only in terms of exhibiting visual art pieces, but also very much into very much about um, practicing relationship extension within the space. So this I'm really, really interested about, how we can grow relationship, me and Arcadia Gallery, but with other people as well. Like it won't be a couple relationship anymore, but like very much like the growing of a family. So yeah, as I'm interested about critical kinship, it makes sense to me.
It's really interesting to me because I think, I mean, obviously we are all about space, and that's why, we found your practice so exciting, because of that sort of that recognition of the relationship we have to space. I mean, I know from the artists that have studios with us and things, how important that is to them, on an emotional level, as well as just a work. It's not just a workspace for many people. It is I really love the way that you think about it as a a collaborator. It does, feed into what you develop. And that extending the relationship, I mean, it would be great, I think. As what I understand from what you mean from that phrase is about reaching out, so bringing more people into the gallery, giving more people the opportunity to come in as collaborators. So you and the space being a collaborator for other people to come inside. And I don't know if other people will kind of add in the comments and things, other questions that we've got, but I'm just going to carry on
Yeah, feel free
asking you questions.
to write questions. Yeah.
Yeah, but other people can put questions in the chat, and if you pick those up,
yeah.
So another area I'm really interested to just ask you about is what I mean, I love your installation that's in there at the moment with the books and the food. And I've noticed that you have turned some of the books around now and put the food in front of the books. Because when we first saw it, if you saw it through the windows, you would just see the books, the front of the books, and perhaps not realise that all the books were supported by food, cans of food and cartons of food. And now you've sort of turned some of that around. So I was just interested in, I mean, I have my personal response to that installation and what it means to me. But I'm interested in what that, you know, what you saw as the relationship, why you chose food to support the books. And you know how you chose the books, what, you know, the themes of the books, I suppose, where you saw the relationship between the food and the books in that installation. And can I add another question actually to it as well?
No.
The other thing, and this might be a completely left field, but the other thing is it looks a bit like a graveyard. With you, do you know what I mean? With the sort of tombstones, all the. So I just wondered if that, and then also obviously your film Funeral of Norman Tivity has got that sort of sort of death kind of feel to it. And so, you know, I in that particular installation, I'm just sort of interested in the relationship between those things, the sort of themes of the books, the food, and the kind of the relationship to a cemetery or death and things. So.
Okay, I wanted to start actually by acknowledging because you and Lauren were the two first beings who came to see the installation, right? And I remember the first time you came into the space and you saw the, you know, the ground level installation, and Lauren said that she was seeing it as like multiple ways, and I was really interested by this comment because you know, when you're only like making your work and thinking about it, but you don't have people like to put your work in relation to, there are lots of interpretations to your work that you don't access to. So it's so rich when you put work out there, and that the work actually have a life of its own beyond like the boundaries of your imagination. And I remember also that from this conversation, because you saw it also from the other side, because we are working together, we were allowed to be in space together. You saw the cans of food, right? And you actually gave me the idea to turn the books around so that people who can actually who are not able to enter the space due to the current situation can actually have a snapshot of what's going on the other side of the installation. And for me, the relation to food was sort of a play with words. I actually work a lot with words and language. And when I was learning English, there was this English expression, food for thought, that stayed with me. I think it's both because it's kind of easy for me to remember, but also because it's the imaginary of it is really rich. So from my understanding of spirituality, there are lots of energies that we're taking from the earth, but also that we are also injecting in the earth, and this is a process that is happening on the ground level. So that's why some people advise you to actually walk barefoot, or whenever you have an opportunity to just sit on the ground, you know, to connect with the land. And for this exhibition, and that will build up later on in my work with Coventry Art Space, I was super interested in framing gallery spaces, art spaces as land, and actually to put myself out there and my work out there as me being a land worker, actually. And all the connotations and like lots of things that we could say about this, you know, reconsidering art spaces as living spaces, as ecosystems that are both part of us, and vice versa. Going back to food, using food to support book and vice versa, because it's not only on one way. So books are leaning on cans, and cans are also supporting books. So they are actually sort of a hybrid assemblage of food that is not limited to what we understand of food, like something that you ingest through your mouth. Although we could say that when you're reading, reading out loud, you are actually ingesting knowledge and inspiration through math. But anyway, so it's about this transmission of energies, and also I was working with the image of a graveyard as something that is from my personal experience. It's something. It's a place where I never go to. Even for my family member, it's not part of my culture to visit graveyard. So as the art spaces were remaining closed, it was kind of really interesting for me to use the whole ground level space of the gallery as a graveyard. And we didn't switch on the lights of the gallery actually, so it's only visible through the light of that is coming from the outside. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of left in a peaceful way. It's almost discarded as well from the government requirements of closing art spaces as spaces that are not essential, as work that is not essential. But it also because the books that are compiled, are collected, that have gathered and put in space at Arcadia Gallery are all written by Black artists, Black writers, Black authors, Black activists, Black beings. It's also a wink at the knowledge, at the experience, the lived experiences that are often discarded by dominant discourses. So it's both the graveyard space that is unvisited, uncared for, same for the art gallery, and same like a sort of on a similar level to Black beings and Black women, Black transgender beings that are often not cited. Like people are using their work, but they are often not citing them, acknowledging how people's lives are being transformed by their labor. So it's quite complex, really, but all of it is about energies, acknowledging ecosystems, nurturing ecosystems, and imagining what's next. What if we were to pay our respect in a proper manner to discarded spaces, to discarded beings, to discarded food as well. So I didn't talk so much about the food that is supporting the books as well, but the food, especially cans, I've used them on the level of discourse that is related to survival mode. So I shared this sort of anecdote with someone, during another live, saying that my grandmother is used to collect cans. Mm-hmm. So it's something that is from like I have strong images of this from my childhood and from when I visit my grandmother. And so this woman was always prepared to to the worst, And why was she always prepared to the worst situations? Is that she embodies identities, and as a human being, she's been marginalized by the system, so she knows that if something happens, she has to be prepared for it. So it's both like in terms of social, on a social level, but also on an environmental note, because my grandmother is from Guadeloupe, and in Guadeloupe, several times a year, you have to make sure that you have enough food, because there are hurricanes, environmental change during the year, an environmental, not catastrophe. I don't want to use just like the environment impacts you way more than it impacts us here. So you need to make sure that if something happens, you can actually survive from the food that you have, that you store at home. So it was a really long answer. I hope it made a bit of sense.
No, I think that's really interesting because, you know, for me, I said, you know, I've got, when I see it, I think it's just a really strong, very simple, really strong image. And, you know, the death thing is also very interesting and poignant at this time, obviously. But you know, for me, I kind of, you know, obviously these books, a lot of them are themes kind of, you know, about our society and how we live, and I just, I guess for me, I saw a relationship between that, you know, this is sort of quite cerebral stuff that we talk about, but actually our lives come down to having the necessities, and there's a relationship between these two things, that, you know, we have to have these necessities in order to have this the kind of philosophy we aspire to. But you know, we can't, they're a long way apart in a way, you know, one being very basic and one being kind of, you know, seen as very up there, and almost a luxury to be able to talk as we are now, you know, about, you know, in a very sort of cerebral way, but actually that there is this strong relationship between the two, that they feed each other. Use the word feed there. Intentionally. So yeah, you know, I think it's kind of really, really, really strong. So anyway, another question, I suppose.
Before you ask this question, Mindy, I just wanted to say that what you just said, in relation to what I just said as well, made me think of this super beautiful quote that is carrying me for maybe a month now. And it's a quote from Saidiya Hartman, and that has been transformed then by Alexis Pauline Gumbs. And they say, we were never talking about Black beings. We were never meant to survive, but here we are creating a world of love. I think I quoted it a bit quite
paraphrased it a little bit. Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah.
So for me, just to go back to this, you know, we're talking about graveyard, about survival and everything. But for me, ultimately, what I see is opportunities to create, to co-create, you know, together, worlds of the possible. But worlds of the possible, this creation process will be and is already grounded in love. So yeah. So I also wanted to say that when I made this installation, I made it from a place of love. Sorry, I've cut you.
No, that's all right. Not at all. No, it's really good. Yeah, I suppose I'm sort of perhaps veering off a bit there, but I'm interested, obviously, art space, the other thing, we talked about space and things, and then we're also very interested in artist development. So one of the things as well I wanted to ask you about is, with this kind of experience, with the last residency and with this residency, you know, how you feel it's affected your development as an artist. You know, how's it developed your thinking and your practice, your ideas of how you want to take forward your practice as an artist?
Yeah, I'm so transformed, because, you know, when we met, I think like a bit less than a year ago, we met physically. We met by Arcadia Gallery, I remember, and then we walked to the row. And at this stage of my life, I had all this theoretical, not background, this heavy theoretical, background. but I didn't have a space, you know, outside of institutions of knowledge, outside of universities, to experiment, to push myself beyond the canons of academic knowledge. So when we met, for me, it was all about access. It was the first time that someone told me, yeah, you want to do this? That's great. Here is the space. How can we, you know, together have conversations to make it work? So I know I've been so privileged to have had this opportunity, uh, and like it transformed my life in terms of like the materiality of what it is to be living, you know, in terms of having access to space to create my work, in terms of having access to commissions, network, and ultimately now I'm also I'm an employee, temporarily an employee of Coventry Art Space. So like the materiality of the benefits of working, you know, in relation to Coventry Art Space as multiple, has spread a lot, you know, I can pay my bills and everything. And I can operate as an artist. I don't have to work outside of what I'm doing with Coventry Art Space and Coventry Biennial to provide to earn my life, to earn my life. So this is on the side of the materiality of it, because I quite like to be transparent about the materiality behind the process of creation. Because without this, I wouldn't be able to think about what I'm going to think right now, answering your question. So in terms of artist development, I was, when we met and when I come close to Coventry Art Space, I was thinking about space, about bodies, and about things and everything together, creating assemblages and all, but very much from a theoretical point of view. And also when I was making performances about it, it was both strong, heavily, I'm not saying that my work is not heavily grounded in theory now, but I'm just like closer to the reality on the ground. So I was making those performances in relation to universities. I lost my thread of thought. But it wasn't, I didn't have an access, you know, to, and I think I wouldn't have been interested in making in a space that was not so connected to the city life, because Coventry Art Space Arcadia Gallery is precisely by next to Coventry Market, which is one of my favorite places in Coventry, and there is lots of passage of people passing by in the arcades, and people who are not, you know, like the kind of people you will be expecting when walking in back then when walking in an art space. Like people are so are coming from so many so many different roots. And so that's what I love with the opportunity also to exhibit work in windows, because some people, for whatever reasons, and also for the heavy history of art spaces being exclusive spaces, elitist spaces, and so on. Lots of people are not feeling comfortable to push the door just to come in. You know, they don't feel entitled as much as certain people with dominant identities. And so giving opportunities to see work from the window without having to check your privilege, whether you're entitled or not to enter the space. I quite love this idea. And also because of this space, what is now called Arcadia Gallery, used to be a shop, right? I didn't really ask for the history of the space, I should. But I quite like to be part of a space that has been transformed over time. You know, that a space that people know from, with different with different stories really attached to it.
Sorry, I'm really sorry. I'm having real problems with the you're freezing up a bit on me, so I'm not catching what you're saying at the moment. It's just come back now, so carry on.
Okay.
and hopefully it'll be okay.
Okay.
I've just turned something else
Yeah.
off that was probably using the Wi-Fi, so that might have helped.
Yeah, it might be my Wi-Fi as well. Let's see. So yeah, in terms of artistic development, it gave me the opportunity to get closer to people in Coventry that I didn't know because I've been here for a short time, and I'm just looking for making connections and having access to an art space that is a shop front is an exceptional opportunity in terms of analyzing how people respond to your work, even when it's closed now, because I'm spying on people from the, the top floor, analyzing how people react or respond to your work. With, I mean, people from different roots, as I said. Um, and showing work, and have been privileged to meet so many different artists, you know, through being through exhibit, like showing work at Arcadia Gallery, but also through being a Coventry Art Space artist listing artist. I said it right, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
And also via the opportunities that are shared, you know, via Coventry Art Space. It's just like lots of, it's all about network, what I'm saying right now. And like the network that it gave me access to and that it created for me is something that I'm so grateful for. And it has been really valuable for me. Since it, as I said, when I was talking about the materiality of creation, it provided me with a sense of security, at least for the next 3 months.
Yeah, I realise, you know, I mean, it's very true, and of course, you know, it is a great opportunity, you know, and it's the especially in these times, when work is so scarce, that, as you said at the beginning, it's hard to take your practice forward. And it comes back to what we were talking about actually with the food and the books, really, and that relationship. Like, you can't take that forward without those practicalities being there. And I do get that. I suppose.
And also, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
I don't want to cut you.
it's all right. I was going to ask. I suppose I'm interested to think. I might. This might be a tricky question to answer.
Okay.
But what impact do you want your work to have? What's the difference you want to, you know, you think that your practice specifically, you want to, you know, have that impact on other artists, or generally on your community or your world?
Yeah, I wanted to actually start with the very first comment that I received during the first residency. So during the first residency, I've braided a swing, you remember, that was going down to the floor like flutes. And the very first person who entered the space when we could like welcome people in was actually someone passing by doing grocery in the next door Afro and Caribbean shop. And this person stopped by the door and said, can I come in? And I said, yeah, of course, you're welcome. It was my first person, you know, coming in the gallery. And the person said, I came in because I saw our stuff inside. So I think I'm gonna be like those people who just say the same thing over and over now. But this comment just stayed with me ever since, and it was maybe the most beautiful comment that I've had about my work so far, because it was simple. Like my grandmother, my family members could have told me the same, and it was like straight to my heart. So, and also another friend, an artist friend working in London, describing my work, said that it looks effortless, something like as if I didn't put effort in my work. And it's actually like what I'm trying to reach especially as someone coming from the academia, where you know you have to use buzzwords and everything like. Um, what I'm trying to reach is actually this level of connections with people, so that they can actually, beyond entering the art space, they can also frame their everyday life as arts. So what I'm saying is that I tend to use most of the time everyday materials that are heavily grounded in Afro and Caribbean communities. So with black synthetic hair, kidney beans, you know, canned food. I don't know if it's a thing, but like canned food is maybe a bit more general. And I'm precisely using those materials because it's part of us, like it's part of the communities that I'm part of. And I'm not interested about making arts for the elite. I'm interested to make arts for us, and not even like to say that, oh, I'm putting a kind of food in an art space, so now it's art. But it's also for people when they are back at home to think like, oh, look at this canned food that I have. It could be art, you know, it could be art even in my house. So it's also to push boundaries of understanding of what is art and where arts happen at the same time. What was the question?
What impact do you want to have?
What impact? And so, as a person, as a Black person who have had access, you know, to space, that was a privilege, although it shouldn't be considered as a privilege, but still it is in 2021. I'm really interested in making sure that other peoples that have been marginalized throughout history can also have access to this space that is very much like should even more become more open for, you know, everyone to be able to express themselves in counter-hegemonic ways, meaning in ways that are not just like only imposed by the dominant people with dominant identities. So I'll be so happy to, as my work with Coventry Art Space developed, to work on welcoming people, to welcome the multiplicity of us. And the multiplicity of us is not only, I'm not only talking about race, but although like my work is heavily grounded into you know, talking about people from talking about and talking to people from Afro and Caribbean backgrounds, but I'm also very much interested about making connections, building it's like protest art, building networks of solidarity between people who have been marginalized by race, by due to their race, due to their gender, due to their sexuality, due to their so-called disability, and so on and so forth, for us all like to grow networks of solidarity and to you know, consider this space, and I'm talking about Arcadia Gallery, as our own, like not as in we own it, but as a space from where we can make with, whether we can make with space or with other from the city, other artists or other activists, or, you know, just other people. But like when we think about it, like the network that is supporting, and that through like the network that could be understood as the ecosystem that is supporting Arcadia Gallery, and that ultimately will develop, is so rich and so vast, you know. So this space, what like I'm saying over and over, this space is for, it was not made for us, right? Because there is a history behind, you know, what kind of arts used to be exhibited at Arcadia Gallery, and you know, I know that and I felt it, like I lived it, how Coventry Art Space it really like took I don't know, like took the issue in its hands when we were talking about racial justice, disability justice, and so on and so forth. We've now a board that is like more than 50% or 50% so-called diverse, made of people from Black and Asian descents in sort of majority, and it's just like it supports people's work, and like also the programmation and like just it's just designs. I'm getting lost. It's just designs, possibilities, futures in a way that it wouldn't have been that would not have been possible without having a diverse leadership. Oh, here, look at me using diversity and it's a bit late for me.
Let me just to cut. Probably, I'm not sure what time we're on. I haven't been watching the time, so you might have that there. But and I don't know if you've seen any. I haven't seen any questions from people, so I'll finish up with.
Really quiet, so you can still put some questions in
if
we still have a bit of time.
Yeah. So what I wanted perhaps was to ask about the next, as you know, we're fundraising, so that we're hoping, because you've done a winter residency and now sorry, you've done an autumn residency and now a winter residency. And obviously we want to see the year through, so we're hoping that we will get the funding for you to have a spring residency and also a summer residency. So I would love, you might want, there's more, you might want to tell us about, in fact, there is another question I have to ask as well about what's in the gallery at the moment. But I'll finish asking this question first and save that for my little one at the end, which is, so tell us a little bit about what your thinking is at the moment for the forthcoming residencies for the spring and the summer, which we're still fundraising for at the moment, so we can't.
Yeah, fingers crossed that it can happen. So for the spring residency, I'm thinking of collaborating with Coventry based at the moment. I don't want to reduce Ryan Christopher to Coventry, but to Coventry based artist Ryan Christopher. We're going to put together an installation in the window. So I don't want to say too much, but we're working on a seesaw, and more on that when it happens. And this spring residency is going to be under the name of Poetics, or Poetics of Power. So it's going to be lots of like difficult conversations again, but navigated through art installation and film sharing, filmmaking, and so on, so that hopefully we can hold space for difficult conversations, but in a pleasurable way. And I'm thinking very much of working with whoever is up for it in the main space. We're working with this idea of emptiness as being something framed as like nothingness, with a colonial mindset, but actually emptiness being a space that is invisibly full. So I'm interested in transforming the gallery with everyday materials once again, but this time not only everyday materials from myself, but from people who will come and place their objects from home into the space, and then ultimately the idea will be to create, to populate the space with us, the multiplicity of us, and to challenge, the very polished gallery space, thinking about access in mind, because I have a 2 years old, and I'm hoping that more babies and children are also going to join the space. So there is more thinking to be having about that. But just to say that, what if, we were to cover, to use the full so-called full potential of space, and to use the gallery space as a home. So at home, it's really rare for, I think, for people to have, you know, super nihilistic spaces. You know, you just put lots of things that you care about. So I'm interested in caring about things that are displaced from home to the gallery for a temporary for small for a limited amount of time. And to imagine ways, you know, for us to care for each other and to create bonds in the, that are that will be catalyzed by things, you know. So once again, like trying to work with this idea of extended family and critical kinships, and but also interrogating the colonial definition of emptiness, and but then actually reproduced itself within art spaces across across the Western world. So this is for spring, sorry, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to be in space together and to also have in real life activities again. Let's see about that. And about this, I'm not going to say too much because it's something that I also want to co-create, especially with Ryan Christopher for this one, and for whoever is interested to reach out, just reach out to me. Then for summer, I'm so excited about what's coming up for summer residency. Fingers crossed it's happening. Because in the summer residency, I would actually like to work in depth on this notion of multiplicity of us, inviting 7 artists from Coventry and around 7 that would be a bit too much. 7 Black artists putting their work in relation to each other, and within Black, I'm specifically interested in the multiplicity of us. So there will be artists from Africa, meaning like people who first generation migrants. There will be second, third generations migrants to the UK, but they won't have to like the exhibition, collective exhibition, will be framed around protest art, like around protest art as an intervention into a space, but the artists are not limited in terms of having to talk about their Blackness as a way of resistance. They don't have to, but if they want to, they are supported as well. But it's very much to put work in relation to each other. And then the collection of the gathering, the collection of the work would actually be a message, a polyvocal message, a message grounded in multiplicity about what is sort of like giving a sort of a capture, a picture of Black artist work in Coventry and around at this precise given time. So in relation, this is the focus, in relation, multiplicity of us in relation to one another. So it's like the boundary between art intervention and activist intervention within for this precise residency is very blurred, very blurred. It is a political intervention. It is, yeah, it will be. And same, there will be activities attached to it. But last thing, activities will be, I cannot announce anything because this residency will be self-organized by all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't wait for it. And we have to make sure that we have the funding for it. So that's what we're working on at the moment. And yeah, it will be brilliant. It will be brilliant. So I have one last question, which is just about, you know, there's in the window of Arcadia, there's the trolley with all the stuff in it, and then in the other window there's a fan. which you sometimes put on, I think. I haven't actually
Mm-hmm.
seen anything. I haven't actually seen it on. I just want you to tell us about this fan, and all its attachments and things. Will you just say a few words about the fan,
Mm-hmm.
how it came to be?
Yeah. So the space, I'm sorry, I didn't give an audio description of myself. Um, so I'm a black queer person. It comes at the end, but at least it comes. I'm a black queer person with
You did.
something.
You have said that.
I
You
did.
did say that earlier. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, good, good. And so the space I'm in at Coventry Peace House used to be a shared office, and in this shared office there was this very old fan. Um, and me being who I am, so I have sometimes really like strong difficulties to concentrate. So I'm just attracted to things and to queer use them. So queer usage of things is my main creative process. So I take things that have been made for a certain purpose, and I queer use them with my, as I said, with everyday materials that are grounded in my, childhood, in my life, in my cultures. Uh, and so I was having those very beautiful uh, pink extension in I think it was in January, and I loved it so much. I was beautiful. I mean, but I love them so much, not because I'm self-centered, but it was my first time doing them by myself. And lockdown being lockdown, I just did it by myself, and I was proud. I'm still proud. So anyway, so when I removed the hair from my head, I was still very much attached to those hair, so I didn't want to throw them out. So looking at the fan, looking at the hair that I wanted to keep, I actually started to breed stories, one braid after another, in relation to the fan and in relation to myself. So it was once again quite there are things I really need to to learn therapeutic, but it was also the first time. It was my first. Because it's funny because in my work sometimes I just get to dig a bit deeper into Black cultures. So I never used to wear beads for hair or hair rings or ornaments that you put that some people, especially some people from African descent, put into their hair to beautify their hair. I never used to use it, but some people in my house at the Peace House were using it. So I actually decided, to give it a try, and I just felt so much closer doing it, like transforming this fan. I felt so much closer to Black cultures around me and how those Black cultures could speak to me as well. Although I was not a regular user of those things, So I'm really interested about not only about myself, about what I've lived before, but I'm really deeply interested in exploring Black cultures in other ways. And when I say in other ways, it's like other being people who have been marginalized, by the system. So back to this fan. When you put the fan on, it's really funny. Well, for me, and like people tend to say that I'm not so funny. So when you put the fan on, it sort of reproduces the noise of an old projector. We can picture like old projector and projecting film onto a screen. So there is this, I don't know, I cannot do it. This quite typical stereotypical noise. And when the hair moves, because there's lots of hair with different size and shape, some of the hair actually have not made it to my head. It was like remaining hair, and others are like heavy, oily because they were on my head, and there is also bits of my hair, of my so-called natural hair, into the thing, and right in the middle, a picture, a private image, an instant image of Eol and I, doing like yeah, we were sitting on the bed, you know, it's like very private image, but it's quite often to find in family album. Like a parent sitting with their child, like having this unregulated intimate moment at home. So it's right in the middle of the fan, and when the hair moves, which is quite what is quite funny is that it's sort of a moving. It becomes a moving image. So not only about how it transformed the picture, but also the whole well, moving for me from my perspective, the whole installation. It's really moving because it's made of things that were supposed to go to the bin and things that were not supposed to be seen or to the least shown into an art space. And here they are having the time of their life for a month. Visible from the street by people. So, yeah.
I think it's good you explained all of that to us. But it's brilliant. I love it, the idea of a moving image and that it's moving, and it is also moving. Anyway, yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay, well, I think we should finish up now. What I would say is, do you have the telephone number on you of the gallery?
Give me a second, please. I'm actually typing Mélisande Varin Coventry Art Space on Google to find the phone number. Oh, I don't have internet.
Okay, if you stay there, I'm sure you can find something interesting to say for 2 minutes while I just go and get the telephone number.
Oh, okay.
I'll put it in.
Good. Yeah. Good. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It was a bit awkward this live because yeah, and now I don't know if someone is hearing me because I couldn't interact that much with you, and I hope that there will be like other opportunities for me to interact with you. Usually I quite like to ask people where they are. I'm a bit voyeuristic. I love to be like to understand the context of me, you know, sharing. Maybe you are in the bathroom or in the kitchen. So yeah, I quite like the intimacy that social media give us, but at the same time, it's really hard. I find it quite hard to navigate the distance that it also creates between people. So being a non-native native English speaker, I tend to rely a lot on bodily language. So it's really super important for me to see people and to feel them actually. So it's been a challenge this year, but I'm not sure. I think it forced me to sort of check my English a bit more. Oh, you're back, Mindy?
I am. Okay.
So now, yeah.
That's the telephone number of the gallery. So anybody can call that number, and if you want to leave a note about any of the things that Mel is doing, either if you've seen the exhibition or if you've come along to obviously this event or any other event, or any feedback on the blogs and things, or just well, you say, Mel, what people are able to you know, you leave a message and then you're going to be using the messages in a future installation. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. That's perfect. And also don't feel, I would just add that I will encourage you to leave a message. Just leave a message. There is no expectation of what's like a good message, or there is no good message or bad message. Just leave a message about what you've just heard, or about how you received the installation, or what you would actually like to see in Coventry Art Space. You can also just leave a message to Coventry Art Space. Someone just left a message without speaking, actually, and you could hear the environment this person was in. And I thought it was so, yeah, very moving, actually. Like for spaces to be able to get in touch with each other.